This is Alex Harris for Slothbox, proudly sponsored by the Excelsior Sporting Club. Today I'm here with Frank Smith. Frank, how are we doing, mate?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Glad to be here. We got it done, and we're here. Press conference done. We're a couple of days away. Only 48, 50 hours until make sure nothing goes wrong, and we'll get through it.
Indeed so, and so of course it's AJ versus Helenius. Of course not the ideal option, but still an option and a good fight here. And do you think this is still going to be a tough test for Anthony Joshua?
I think every fight in the heavyweight division is a tough test at a certain level. You know, Robert Helenius has been in with some of the best fighters in the heavyweight division. Look, people are going to draw comparisons to the Wilder fight. He went in with the Wilder fight and he had a fight. He didn't go in and shy away. He got caught with a big shot, and that's. You know, I think he's going to come and do that on Saturday as well. He's going to come to fight. He's got an opportunity to change his life on Saturday night, an opportunity that really has come out of nowhere in the last couple of days, and he can go in there and change his life. But AJ's got, you know, AJ's focused as always, and I think he's going to put in a great performance, and we're going to see a big Anthony Joshua win.
And indeed, but for Dazn, it's not been the best of times pay-per-view wise. Of course, you've had the thing last year with Conor Benn, and of course we've got AJ here. How kind of frustrating is it for you that things just don't really seem to be going too well in that kind of side of things?
Yeah, look, I mean, we have to thank Dazn for the work they've done to keep this event on as well. You know, it's a huge, like without them, this wouldn't be happening. So we have to thank them. They moved swiftly to get this done, and you know, that was always their focus. It's boxing. Like the reality is, it's boxing, and things change. You know, and we have to move with it. We have some great nights, and we have a lot of tough times, but it's a sport we love. You know, so I think we've got to stay positive. We've got a huge future ahead of us. We've got some massive fights coming up. We've got some massive fights planned for early 24 as well. And you know, we're in a good position. Dazn have been great all throughout this process. And yeah, tough times, you get used to it after a while. It sort of goes over your head, and you just go, right, let's be positive and focus on what's next.
It's good to hear. And so, of course, it's been a very good year for boxing so far, and for yourself and for Matchroom, maybe this year a little bit more competition in the kind of putting on events. I'd say maybe Top Rank, PBC have maybe upped their game a little bit this year. And what is it like? Is it nice to have that extra competition?
Look, even when we didn't have competition in markets, we're our own biggest critic. Like every day of the week, we work harder than anyone else. You know, and that's. Competition's great, but we don't need that to keep driving forward. We want to put on the best shows. Like the biggest competition for me, or the biggest I walk into our shows every week. We're lucky to do a show around the world nearly every week, right? And I walk in and I go, it's not good enough, or this is really good. How can we improve it? And that's what keeps us driven, is, you know, what we do week in, week out. I think, you know, it's great for boxing that these big fights are being made. The likes of Spence Crawford, the likes of Gervonta Davis against Ryan Garcia. It's brilliant to see, and it's only going to benefit the sport. And you'll never see us talk down about other people doing great things in the sport, because, you know, it's a sport we obviously love and we want to grow, and it's only going to grow with the big fights being made. So yeah, 100% competition's great, but we focus on our own business, not on other people's.
Brilliant. And so, I mean, you kind of spoke about how you're travelling all over the world with Dazn and Matchroom, and for a lot of people looking in from the outside, they might think, oh, it's an easy job, you get to travel the world and stuff like that, but how difficult can it be sometimes?
Yeah, it's like, I always say I haven't got a real job. I just float around, have a laugh and smile and just have a good time. But we're lucky to do something that gives you opportunities, like you say, to travel the world. The biggest side, the toughest side to it, is not seeing your family, not being around for things that maybe you'd love to be around for. But I'd rather do it now when I'm 31 years old. I'd rather do it now than when I'm 50 or 60. Because if I'm still doing this at 50 or 60, I'll probably be dead on a plane with some kind of disease. So, you know, we're very lucky to be in a great business and in a great place. And the hard times are very much outweighed by the high moments which we have throughout the year.
Amazing. And so just to kind of move away and I suppose stick on the heavyweights still, we've got the Wardley versus Adelaide purse bids supposedly were today. Is there any kind of updates on that?
They were cancelled actually earlier today. It's a shame, but let's see how things play out on that. Maybe we can make that another day.
Indeed. And how is that kind of relationship between you and maybe George Warren, I suppose is the right person to say?
George Warren, we have a good relationship with. Francis Warren as well. Frank, I've only met once. Sometimes has some jibes, calls me Fat Frank or things like that, which is fair enough. You know, I am a bit tubby around the sides. But look, the one thing about boxing is we all may say a lot of things, but we're all willing to get a deal done, or the majority of us. Some people have shown they're not really up for doing that, but we all want to get a deal done. If it makes sense for your fighters, we'll do it.
And just to kind of speak about your link-ups with other promotions, so you had the Uptire versus Reactpor kind of purse bids fall through or them kind of back out, and what is that kind of thought process, and was that a little bit frustrating as well?
Yeah, look, firstly, we're frustrated for Jai. You know, he's been waiting. He waited 2 months around the Massenet stuff. Then it was Reactpor. I feel sorry for Richard Reactpor, who I have a good relationship with even after he left us. I've always, spoken to him. I always kept in touch with him. And he's been advised by people who don't know what they're doing or have got their own agenda. And, people come into this sport and say, I'm all about the sport, I'm all about the fighters. Well, it's a load of bollocks. You're all about yourself and your own platform and your own business, which is fair play. Like, in business, you have to make the right calls for your business. But come with that energy. Don't come with the energy of, we're going to work with everyone, we want to work with everyone, it's all good. And then pull your fighters out of purse bids from life-changing opportunities. It's not how it works. And like I say, I feel sorry for Richard Reactpor, because everyone will be saying, you pulled out, you're scared of Jai Patai. I don't believe Richard Reactpor is. He's just been advised by people who are completely out of their depth.
Totally agree. And so for the AJ undercard, we've got the likes of Brandon Scott, we've got Johnny Fisher, some big names there with their own kind of big backing. And how nice is it and how vital is it for a fighter up and coming to have that big fan base and have their own kind of thing that makes them different?
100%. There's a lot of good fighters out there who don't have the fan base, who don't have the personality maybe, and it's much tougher to get recognised and actually to get into the position. Boxing's a tough sport because in the early days it's very hard. It's not massive money in it. It's not like football when a player gets into a 16-year-old gets into a academy team and they're on $5,000 a week. Boxing's tough, and you have to really fight through hard times. And you might not make it. A lot of fighters won't make it. 90% won't make it to the heights that will change their life, and that's the reality. So it's a big part. What Johnny Fisher and his family have done is huge, and he's got his first title fight. It's a tough fight against Harry Armstrong on Saturday, but all these fighters on the card: Maisie Rose, George Liddard, Brandon Scott, who you say there, Spider-Man. He literally comes up with ideas every second, and he does it on his own as well. But it's great to see, and it's good for the sport.
And would you kind of say that link into that, would you say that the small hall shows are also very important for the sport as well?
100% small hall boxing's important because they develop fighters and give fighters opportunities. I think it's interesting times with amateur boxing and with everything that they're going through currently. And our aim is to keep growing the sport and keep building the sport. Grassroots and amateur boxing and small hall shows are all a big part of that. So it would be good to see how we can help support the next steps. We obviously just brought in a new head of community development in Alex Govell, who came from England boxing, because for us the future is important. We've been in boxing for 40 years, and we want to be in it for the next 40 years. Hopefully it's not me in 40 years, because I would like to be on a beach somewhere, but it'll be someone better looking than me and who can talk a bit better. But it's very important, and I think they do a great job, especially small hall promoters, because it's not an easy task.
Definitely not. And so just the last couple of weeks we've seen some great fights, some big fights. Of course, Crawford Spence being one of them, Anue Fulton being one of them, and that kind of leads to the question for you: who's pound for pound number one?
Pound for pound number one. There's so many. I think like Usyk, even Canelo, what he's done there's so many. Terence Crawford though, unbelievable the other week. So I'd give it to Terence Crawford. But again, so many great fighters, and it's a great time for the sport. And although we're all competitors, it's great to see big fights happening because it's only going to help the growth of the sport long term, and that's good for us. It's good for everyone involved in the sport. So yeah, Spence Crawford, Tank against Ryan Garcia was a brilliant fight, and Anue Fulton, as you say, making those big fights, that's the focus for us as well.
And just with this final question, a little bit of a deep one. Of course, you're wanting different questions here, mate. And so, how would you like to be remembered in boxing?
Not too serious, a good laugh, and did everything. Like, I will always be remembered as a T-boy, no matter what I do in the sport of boxing. But I just want people within the sport of boxing to go, he was very good. I don't care about too many people's opinions because not many people actually know me. But the people who know me, I'd like them to say, he was quite good at what he did. And that really, and as long as I'm content and I did everything I could within my power, I think I'll be happy.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Frank.